You know, if you just take the time, slow down, and take a really close look at plants, it's fascinating. I know I've said that before, but it's true. It's absolutely fascinating what they can do, and sometimes it's not what we would expect or something that they're supposed to do, because no matter how many programs you watch, no matter how many books you read, these plants haven't read those books. And oh, by the way, welcome to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I will be your host today, and my four little co-hosts here are something a little bit odd. They're doing odd things, as a matter of fact, and I wanted to share this with you because if it's odd, it's definitely going to belong in the Voodoo Garden. The first thing I wanted to show you is this. This is, what are you? Hen and Chicks. Hen and Chicks. Hen and Chicks is a succulent, and it's normally grown in like drier areas, like for rock gardens and stuff, where you don't want to grow grass. And I got a couple of these from Mike the dishwasher. He actually picked these out of the store, and he's not a plant person. Mike doesn't really much care for plants, but he likes hen and chicks. For some reason, he likes cactus. I can't stand them. He likes them. And he picked this, and he said, "Ray, would you grow this?" And I said, "Sure, I think I can do that." So I'm growing this in the Voodoo Garden, but it started doing something that I have no idea what it is. I asked some friends and they gave me ideas, but nobody really had a solid answer for it. So I thought I'd reach out to my audience and ask you, because I'm sure there's somebody out there who has grown this before and they can answer my question, because I really don't know where to go. I can go this way or I can go that way. First of all, come on over here and take a look at this and see if you've ever seen this happen to your hen and chicks before. Before I get to the problem, let me show you what a hen and chicks is. These are two little hen and chicks, and what a hen and chicks is it's a succulent that grows in soil that's not really that great, but I have it growing in my potting mix and it seems to be doing good. What they are is basically just a little pointy leafed little plant, and what they'll do is they'll grow up. These are smaller ones, all right? I have these growing in a cup, and then what they'll do is they'll grow like these, and the lower leaves gradually die off as it grows up, and then what will happen is at the base of it it'll send out like runners, like strawberries, and it will put another baby out at the side. Well, that's what this one here on the right did. It put out a little runner, and there was this little tiny baby hen and chick over here. Well, that started growing, and it didn't grow like the mother. See, the mother is like this bushy looking thing. Well, this one started out that way and then changed its mind. It decided it wanted to be different, and it grew a stem. I've never seen these actually have a stem before. See, it's got a stem, and then it's got a tuft of leaves at the top. Well, I asked some friends on Facebook, and they said what'll happen is these will grow up, they'll grow a stem, some of them will, and there'll be a flower on top. It'll put out a flower, and then it'll die. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. All right, well, I can accept that. Well, after that, look at this. You can see the little white things? They look like roots. I don't know what those things are. It's kind of beautiful, isn't it? And they're going out in all different directions, but I have no idea why it's doing that. Why is this plant doing everything it's not supposed to do? It's growing a stem, and it's growing roots off at the top. I've never heard of that happening, and I tried to look it up. I couldn't figure it out. So if there's anything that you can offer me in the way of advice on this from experience, please don't go posting links to Wikipedia. I don't need that. What I want is I want your personal experience. If you know, ask your grandma, ask your mom, your dad, dig into your brain, and if you can figure out anything that's going on with this, please let me know, okay? I really want to know what the next step is for this. Is it dying? Should I cut it off? Should I reroot it? Are these roots? Are these feelers? Is that a flower? What are these things? This next one is called a pregnant onion, and you can tell by the leaves it looks kind of like an onion, doesn't it? Yep. Well, somebody sent me a couple of little bulbs, and I planted this, and it started to grow, and it grew this bulb. And what happens is these other little bulbs will grow right out of the side of it. It just gets this little lump on the side, and it gets bigger and bigger, kind of like a big zit. I know that sounds gross, but that's what it looks like. And or a mole, and then pop, a bulb pops out the side. And this little bulb is attached. I don't want to break it off because I don't know if I should. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to raise the dirt level up to cover half of this little bulb here so it'll grow roots? Or should I leave it uncovered like this? Are these supposed to be uncovered? I'm growing in uncharted territory, so I really don't know what I'm doing with this. And it's kind of an original plant. And you know me, I like original things. So I don't want to kill this, and I don't want to experiment with it. I'm a mad scientist when it comes to experimenting, but I really don't want to experiment with this one because I may not get another chance to grow it. So if you have any experience with these, please let me know what I'm supposed to be doing with that little bulb. And if I should take it off, leave it on, what am I supposed to do? Okay, on to the second half of our show and tell. This one I don't really think I need advice on, but I wanted to show it off because it's one of the newest additions to the Voodoo Garden. A viewer sent me seeds called Flying Dragon. And if you don't know what a flying dragon is, it's basically nature's bonsai looking citrus tree. It is the strangest looking thing. Google it if you want to, flying dragon plant. And you'll see a really bizarre looking plant that doesn't look very healthy, but it grows these little limes or some kind of citrus on it, but it's just starting out. That is beautiful. Somebody sent me the seeds, and I saw the name of it, Flying Dragon. That's got to be fun. And I planted that, so keep an eye on this. I'm not much into doing bonsai and pruning things to make it look all bonsai, but since this one naturally grows like that, it's really a no-effort bonsai type of citrus thing, and I think it's going to be a fun addition to all the lush big leaf plants in the Voodoo Garden. And the last item on my show and tell today is what's called a dragon fruit. Now, I've mentioned dragon fruit quite a few times. I've shown my dragon fruit. I've been growing this for years. When I got my original dragon fruit, it was this big. It was only about as long as a finger. And I bought it off a seller on eBay, and I don't remember what the name of the seller was, but it was just this little dragon fruit, and it was sealed at the bottom, and I stuck it in soil, and it grew. And it grew, and it grew, and it grew some more. It grew really big, and I started taking cuttings, and I started rooting them. Well, as it grew, it was putting out these little roots from the side. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the parent plant, and it's quite a showstopper up there. It's growing all along my roof. But what a dragon fruit is I believe it's just a cactus, nothing more than a cactus. And you'll see these in garden centers. What they do is they take a short plant, they cut off the top, and they put this red or yellow cactus thing on top, and it bonds with it, and that's how it grows. Well, you can buy these at the store for just a few bucks. Cut off that little cactus thing, plant it off to the side or throw it away, and you can grow your own dragon fruit. Now, as they grow, look, see? I'll put my hand back here so you can see it. They put out these roots on the side, and it's been debated whether or not these are support roots or true roots. And I did an experiment a few years ago, and I cut off a section about this big, and I planted it. And I was told by a lot of people, no, you did it wrong. You're not supposed to do that. Those are support roots. And I claimed that they weren't. And this is the plant right here. This is the one that I laid on its side, and I pointed the roots down. And from that plant grew this. And it grew up and over, and it's going nuts. And all along it has those roots. Now, what I've done is I took one cutting from over there, and I clipped it off, and I put it into a pot of soil to see what happens. And this is that little cutting. I basically just shoved it straight down into soil, brought it up, and watered it. And there were a couple of those roots that I showed you pointing out of this. It had absolutely no regular roots at all. And this was about maybe, I'd say a month or so ago. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the soil, and I'm going to see what happened to those roots. I got to know. All right, I've never done this before. I have grown with the assumption of what it was, but I've never actually taken them out of the pot to see what's going on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay it on its side, and not to worry, because these things root so easily, it's almost a joke. Anybody that can't root these things, they definitely need to go back to square one when it comes to gardening, because these are one of the easiest plants that I've ever grown. Oh, okay, well, and there we are. You got to be careful with these things because they're a cactus. Now look, those roots that I showed you on the other plant, see? What they do is they eventually turn into regular roots. And there was only about 3 of them coming out of this, but look at that. They are all over the place. That is a beautiful, healthy plant. Now, when you take the cuttings off of this, you'll see the roots coming out of the side. You can lay it down on its side and put the roots underneath the ground and cover it up. Or you can plant it standing straight up. There's 2 different ways to plant this, and it's all up to you depending on how you want to do this. I prefer to grow this one straight up. The other one I'm growing sideways. So I'm growing them both in different directions. And I know this is kind of weird, uprooting a plant just to demonstrate something, but like I said, it's not going to hurt the plant, and it really will help people to understand how these things work, because sometimes it's hard to find good information out there, and so sometimes you got to crack a few. Ooh, well, look, something's growing in there. I don't know what that is. But you do have to crack a few eggs in order to make an omelet, and I'm always wanting to know things, so I'm always experimenting and taking things apart and finding out how they work. And I figured, what the heck? I'll go ahead, I'll take this thing apart, we'll see how it works, and that way, no matter what anybody says, you can say, hey, I saw it with my own 2 eyes on Ray's Voodoo Garden, how this thing grows, so now we know 100% how a dragon root puts out roots. Because things like vanilla, you know, and other orchids, they'll put out these support roots, and people will say, well, those aren't really roots, those are just support roots. I don't know whether that's true or not. But when it comes to a dragon fruit, we know that they're support roots and they're also regular roots, depending on what it needs at the time. Because my dragon fruit there is putting out some support roots to hold itself up, but it's also using those as regular roots. So I guess it's a multi-purpose kind of root. Kind of neat. Well, that was a bit messy, but that's what I do. I'm a messy kind of guy. And these tubs are really cool for transplanting because that's where I store my soil. You get these tubs really cheap. You can get them at Walmart for just a few dollars. They're great for holding your soil. It keeps your cats out, keeps your kids out, keeps you out. And they're great for transplanting on too, because I use the lid for that and then I just dump it right back in. But thank you for joining me in the Voodoo Garden. I appreciate it. I know it's just a short episode, but I only had a couple things that I wanted to bring up this time. So if you do have any answers for those 2 plants that I showed you, the hen and chicks and the pregnant onion, please let me know, and that way I can continue on with step 2 of growing those, because I really want them to do good in the Voodoo Garden. And sometimes I do need help, and I'm not afraid to ask for it. So if you ever have any questions that you have about your indoor gardening, please feel free to ask me. And if I ever have any questions about my indoor gardening, I will be sure to ask you. But until next week, everybody, this is Ray in the Voodoo Garden. I'm out of here. Okay, you back up on your shelf.